Actually Intelligent features experts and everyday people using artificial intelligence in real life. Every Wednesday, host Thon, a media strategist driven by curiosity about how technology shapes daily life, leads conversations that make the complex feel accessible. Each episode dives into real stories of AI in action, from groundbreaking research to the practical tools transforming how we live, work, and create. Welcome to Actually Intelligent.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Actually Intelligent. I'm your host, Thon, and today I have three recent AI stories for you that I think are more connected than they may look on the surface. First, the New York Times is at war with its own management over AI. The editorial union called the paper's AI standards woefully inadequate, which was caused by a recent plagiarism scandal at the outlet. Second, California signed an executive order that could set the rules for every AI company in the country, whether Washington, D.C. likes it or not. And third, OpenAI bought a media company, a talk show, actually. Three stories, one through line. The lines of trust around AI are being redrawn right now. Let's get into it. Let's start with the New York Times because this one hits different if you care about the information you consume every day. On Tuesday, the New York Times editorial union, the News Guild, sent a letter to the publisher, CEO, executive editor, and basically every senior leader at the paper. The message was blunt. Your AI standards are woefully inadequate. Now, what triggered this? A few weeks ago, the Times cut ties with a freelance writer named Alex Preston, an accomplished writer with 6 novels, bylines for the Times, Guardian, Financial Times, etc. He used an AI tool to help draft a book review. And the AI he used pulled language from a recent review of the same book in The Guardian. Basically, AI assisted plagiarism and made it into the New York Times. Here's the thing about Preston. He wasn't some random blogger. This was a seasoned professional writer who got tripped up by one of the most basic failure modes of generative AI. It borrows without telling you where from. So the union looked at this and said, this is a systemic problem, not a one-off. They're now demanding 3 things in their contract negotiations to try and make sure this doesn't impact other writers in the future, and to make sure the guidelines are clear. So first, clear disclosure standards for when and how AI is used in journalism. 2, protections so that AI tools can't be used in performance reviews, meaning an editor can't hold AI output against the user or a writer or use it to set productivity benchmarks. And 3, protections around journalists' name, image, and likeness. Basically, don't train models or use our work without our consent. Why does this matter to the Times? Because the New York Times is the canary in the coal mine for every knowledge working industry. If the paper of record can't figure out where the line is between AI-assisted work and AI-generated work, how is a marketing team supposed to? How's the law firm or a PR agency? And I see more conversations about this. Publications don't want AI-generated content, or they're using AI writing detectors to see if content being submitted to them is being written by AI. I understand the concerns about plagiarism, but the problem is that good writing is good writing. Presumably, if trained by all the information in the world, AI would be good at writing. It is. So why can't someone use AI to write things that makes their writing clear, relatable, or more engaging? Now, don't get me started. I am someone to say, hey, writing is all about taste, and I think that is absolutely true. But there are times when that's just not necessary. And honestly, I'd rather have someone be able to tell me what their company does in a way that makes a lot of sense, and hopefully AI could help them part that back, than to do something that's full of a bunch of jargon and buzzwords. I know AI is guilty of that too, but if you're using it correctly, you can probably get around that. I suspect this issue with the New York Times, while the union is framing it as a labor issue, and it is, it's also an identity crisis. And what does it mean to be a writer or a journalist or a knowledge worker when the tools you use can produce something that looks like your work but isn't, or is better than your work, and it's obvious it's written by AI? I guess I think it's just an interesting conversation to have, and it's going to play out in every industry. Right now, it's just playing out here because it's an interesting case, especially for someone who enjoys the news. All right, let's get to story two. Let's go from the newsroom to the State House. Earlier this month, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed an AI executive order. And this is one of those stories where the headline sounds boring, but the implications are actually massive. So here's the context. The Trump administration has been pushing for a national AI standard, essentially a federal framework that would override or preempt state level AI laws. And the argument is we need one set of rules, not 50. And frankly, that argument has some merit from probably a business perspective. Nobody wants to comply with 50 different AI regulations that will slow things down. It can harm innovation, and just frankly, just make things take a really long time. But California said, like, we're not waiting for the Trump administration. And so this executive order targets AI procurement, meaning if you're an AI company and you want to do business in the state of California, you now need to meet specific standards. You need to explain your policy on things like illegal content distribution, model bias, civil right implications, and free speech protections. That, honestly, those things sound like good things and probably things that consumers should be able to have information about before they use an AI tool, especially because we've seen how influential they can be amongst people. So how does this play out nationally, or why does this matter? Because California is the world's fourth largest economy, multiple policy sources in an interview or in speaking with Axios told them that even the executive order itself might not have the strongest legal teeth. It will absolutely change company behavior, though. And that's because every company wants access to California. Think about it this way. GDPR in Europe didn't just regulate European countries. It became the global privacy standard because everyone wanted access to the EU market. California is running the same playbook for AI. There's a political layer here too. Newsom is widely seen as a presidential candidate in 2028. So this isn't just a state policy. It's seen as a campaign platform as he positions himself as the anti-Trump on tech regulation, not anti-AI, but pro guardrails. And I know I didn't go into this super deeply, and personally, I don't actually know everything in this executive order, but the things that I have shared here, I think, are things that make a lot of sense to, again, give consumers access to and the knowledge of. It's like publishing your nutrition facts, AI nutrition facts. Meanwhile, what we're seeing here too is that the big AI labs are playing both sides. Both OpenAI and Anthropic have been deeply involved in pushing various California bills, ballot initiatives, sometimes partnering with online safety groups, sometimes opposing them. We saw this with another story that I talked about here, which was Anthropic's deal with the Department of Defense. So much has changed since then, and it hasn't even been that long. I don't think we need to bring it back up. But like I said, it's a complicated dance. And here's the bottom line. The federal government can't agree on legislation. Congress is divided. States are stepping in. And when the biggest state in the country sets a standard, that standard has a way of becoming standard. For anyone building or deploying AI, California just set and drew a line. You can debate whether it's the right line, but it is a line, which is more than Washington, D.C. has managed to do. Let's go into the last story here. And this one, honestly, it's a little weird. It's important. I think it left a lot of people like, what? So again, earlier this month, OpenAI acquired TBPN, the Technology Business Programming and Network. It's a daily live talk show on YouTube and X, hosted by two former tech founders. The show runs 3 hours a day. It's become a cult favorite in Silicon Valley and around amongst tech people. You can kind of think of it as a sports center for tech. Mark Zuckerberg has been on it, Satya, Mark Benioff, Altman, obviously. So OpenAI bought it. First media acquisition for the company. And I think that's where it's just, honestly, it's all interesting. It's all weird. And probably, depending on your perspective, a bit concerning. So the show won't, the host won't report to a content team or like a media division within OpenAI. It'll report to Chris Lihani, the OpenAI's chief political operative. That's his title. And for those who don't know his name, Lihani is a real big political player. He's the guy who coined the phrase vast right-wing conspiracy during the Clinton administration. He ran Fairshake, the crypto industry super PAC that spent hundreds of millions in the 2024 election. He joined OpenAI that same year and has been a key figure in their lobbying efforts, which included pushing to prevent states from regulating AI and easing environmental restrictions on data center construction. Oof. So let's lay this out plainly. The most valuable AI company in the world, which is on the verge of an IPO, just bought a media property that regularly covers AI and put it under the control of their top political strategist. So what are the questions that this raises? The obvious one is editorial independence. TBPN built its reputation as a place where tech leaders could speak candidly, a safe space for the industry, basically. And does that dynamic change when your parent company is the biggest player in the space you cover? The second question is about narrative control. OpenAI is heading toward what could be $1 trillion IPO. They have every incentive to shape the media narrative around AI. And they just bought a direct channel to the exact audience of investors, founders, and policymakers that matter the most. And the third question is a broader trend. We're watching AI companies move from building technology to building ecosystems of influence. Lobbying, media, education, partnerships, government contracts, hell, even just advertisements during things like the Super Bowl. This isn't a tech company acquiring content. This is a tech company building infrastructure for shaping a public perception. I don't think it's inherently evil. Companies buy media properties all the time. Maybe that I can't say inherently evil, but it feels like it is. But the timing does matter. The reporting structure matters, and the scale of influence that OpenAI is accumulating across technology, policy, and now media, that's worth paying attention to. So here's the thread that ties all three of these together. The New York Times can't define where human work ends and AI work begins. California is drawing regulatory lines that Washington, D.C. won't. And OpenAI is blurring the line between AI and controlling the conversation about AI. Every one of these stories is about trust. Who do you trust to write the news? Who do you trust to set the rules? Who do you trust to tell you the truth about a technology that's reshaping everything? Those aren't abstract questions anymore. They're playing out right now in real time in the institutions that shape how we understand the world. If you're working in AI, building with AI, or just trying to make sense of it, pay attention to where the trust lines are being drawn, because whoever draws them gets to define what comes next. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to Actually Intelligent. And if this one resonated with you, share it with someone you know or someone who needs to hear it. Till next time.
That's a wrap on Actually Intelligent. Huge thanks. If this conversation resonated, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another founder, builder, or storyteller who'd appreciate it. Actually Intelligent is hosted by Max Thon and produced by BAM. We'll catch you next time as we keep exploring the future of AI, innovation, and the humans shaping it. Until then, stay curious, stay thoughtful, and remember, the goal isn't just artificial intelligence, it's becoming actually intelligent.